We've all known about him and dreamt about him since October 20th, 1967, when he changed all of our lives in some way or another. The last cowboy standing in this room, Mr. Bob Gimlin.
Thank you, Sharon. Well, it's been said before. Thanks for Mark inviting me to this place, or to this wonderful get-together with all you special people. You know, I've been lucky enough to meet a number of you before from last year, and the ones that I haven't been able to meet, I wish I could. So, thanks again, all you special people, for attending this event, this special event in 2015. And if you will allow me, I really don't know what to talk about, but I'll just say something.
Say a few words, and then at some point we'll take questions.
All right.
Yeah, go ahead. Tell them.
Some of you folks have heard this story before about how I met Roger and all of that. So what I will do, being as I don't have a hearing problem, I just can't hear, Tom's going to take questions from you folks, and I will do my darndest to answer them correctly. If I don't, I'll just make up something.
Oh, thank you, Bob. And of course, everyone here, we're here, and we appreciate Bob and Roger for their achievement, and for Bob participating currently in not only conferences, but Sasquatch and Bigfoot research. So it's a great pleasure to have him here, and the goal being here is to meet and greet and speak with as many of you as possible. So I hope in the next, half hour, minutes or so, we can answer some questions you might have.
We might just stay all night.
All right?
Thank you, Tom.
You want to hear this story? Well, tell the story, but from October 20th. Just tell the story of going out camping and then encountering the creature.
Okay, folks, thank you for allowing me to do this. I'll just start from about where Roger and I camped back up Bluff Creek in 2067. We got there around the 1st of October. I think it was the first day of October. I've kind of lost track of the days exactly, but we made camp, and I had, well, I'll go back just a little ways if you will allow me. Roger had gotten a phone call from the people down in that area and said, Roger, on Labor Day weekend, on a Friday afternoon, they pulled a piece of equipment up above a place called Onion Mountain, where they were blading new roads in with the D8 cats and the road graders. So they put this piece of equipment in there around fresh dirt. When they come back to work on Tuesday morning, there was 3 different sizes of prints around this piece of equipment. And so they assumed it was a male, female, and a juvenile. So they'd called Roger about that, and he come driving in my driveway. It was probably 4 or 5 days later, real excited, and saying, Bob, we've got to go down to Northern California and see these tracks, because there's been activity there around the piece of equipment. Well, I said, Roger, I've got a job, and I've got critters to take care of, horses and cattle and so forth. So my job was hot roofing. If any of you folks know what hot roofing is, that's where you're using hot asphalt to put layers of ply on the roof. Well, being I was the last man hired, I knew in the fall it was going to be a layoff. So I went and talked to my boss, and he said, yes, go ahead and take off a couple of weeks if you'd like, Bob. So I told Roger, yes, get your gear together, and I will take you down to Northern California. Up until that time, I had never seen a footprint. And naturally, I had never seen a critter. a Bigfoot person. I'm calling them people now. So I took Roger down there, and we rode every day around many miles over that area. And if anybody here has ever been down in that part of the country, you know it's some pretty beautiful, rough country. But we covered a lot of miles, and of course it was fall, and the trees were turning, the maple trees were turning red and beautiful yellow colors, and all the underbrush was really getting pretty. So we hadn't found anything, but it had rained down there really, really hard. So the heavy rain in the soil, like it was all tore up from the cats and so forth, there was no tracks really identifiable. You could see that there had been tracks there, but the heavy rain had made them just kind of globs in the mud there. So we kept riding, as I'd said a few seconds before, and that October 20th day was one of them really beautiful fall days. The sun was shining, and we had decided to pack up a pack horse and go back about 25, 30 miles farther back and stay the weekend. And so we was riding up the creek bed and come around. I don't know how many here are familiar with downfall trees. The root system turned upside down and the butt of the tree down. Well, there was a big downfall tree there along in the creek, and it had rerouted itself around that. Well, Roger was riding in front of me about 2 horse lengths, and that's about 12 feet. And we come around that bend, and this big hairy thing was standing alongside the creek. So Roger had a horse that was kind of spunky, and he's having a little hard time getting off the horse, and I think the horse helped him just a little bit. But you know, Roger was a pretty agile fellow, so he managed to get his camera out of the saddlebag, and he rode with one flap open. It was a 2-flap saddlebag, and he rode with one flap open. And so he got it out, and he ran across the creek. And I say she. I didn't know it was a she or what it was when I saw it. It was just a big creature. Well, Roger ran across the creek, and if you've seen the film footage, you'll see where there's a lot of shaking and so forth until Roger got settled down on the other side of the creek. It was kind of a little incline up from the creek, kind of a sandy little bar, and Roger stumbled and fell down because he had his eye up to the camera while he was running across there and starting up that little bank. Well, when he fell down, then I was just sitting there on the horse trying to figure, hey, these things really do exist. And of course, it started walking away immediately. And of course, Roger had to get up and relocate himself. And there was a log about half buried in the sand, just about 20 feet up on the bank. Cause I don't know how many of you folks remember in 1963 and 64, they had some awful floods because of the winter and the snow melting away, and it flooded Yuba City and all along the California coast. So this had caused a lot of debris to come down out of the mountains, and a log jam had jammed up there, and the debris was backing up behind this log jam. And it was mostly, it was a kind of a loamy, sandy type soil, which made excellent tracks when it walked through there. And so Roger was relocating and got on this log, and he asked me, Roger said, "Bob, will you cover me?" Well, I knew what he meant. We both had rifles in their scabbards on their saddles. So I rode across the creek and stepped down off my horse, and I pulled the rifle from the case. Never did raise it to my shoulder because it kept walking away, and I knew if it was walking away, there was no danger. I didn't know what to expect from something that big, so I just stood there and watched it walk away, and it got up around out of sight. Roger relocated one more time, and when it got out of sight, and it apparently ran, because the only measurement we could get of the footprints was in the gravels, and that was the upturned gravels that were wet. And we measured those 68 to 72 inches apart, the best measurements we could get, which was not real accurate, but we figured that it must have ran when it got around the corner. And so I wanted to go after it, or go behind it and look again, go after it. And Roger said, "No, don't leave me here, without a gun," and he told me he ran out of film. So by the time we caught his horse up and got more film in the camera, then we tried to follow where it had gone. And that's when we measured these tracks in the gravels. So that's about the end of that part. So I guess anybody that's got some questions, does that satisfy you there, young lady? How did we get?
Well, Roger was filming during that whole period. Yeah.
Until he ran out of film.
It was a Kodak K100 camera, and it had an 8-minute roll of film in it, and they had shot 7 minutes prior to encountering the subject. And as that ran out, as Bob was saying, they then proceeded to remain on site, where Bob wanted to follow the subject upstream. Roger asked him to stay there while he got under a poncho in the dark and changed it was an actual film camera. It's not a video. It's great. So,
oh, thank you, Tom.
Yeah, sorry, just to clarify that.
I guess I'm assuming. And assuming, gets you in an awful lot of trouble.
Well, let's go with another question. All right.
You're welcome.
What were your thoughts personally about the creature before your encounter? Like what you were asking of?
Okay. What were your thoughts about Bigfoot before the encounter?
Well, one more time about that. I'll try to answer that in two different parts, okay? All right, prior to that time, Roger had a lot of evidence of footprints, or cast, I'll say cast, and lots of testimonials about people that had witnessed these Bigfoot. And I was kind of like Harry Truman. I had to see it to believe it. So therefore, that's one of the main reasons that I wanted to go down there, take Roger down to California to see these footprints. And when I got there, like I said, it had rained really hard, so there was no identifying footprints there. And other than that, I was not a non-believer, but I was waiting to get some really good evidence to be a solid, firm believer. And I got it.
Is that good? All right, Jamie.
I actually just wanted to thank you for coming and talking about your experience to us because it's really nice that you've held on to the story and you're passing it on to all of us. So thank you.
Well, thank you.
All right, Henry May.
Yeah, what is your opinion of the neighbor Bob Hieronymus, and why do you think he decided to say he was the guy to sue?
Do you really want that? What's his opinion of Bob Hieronymus?
There's
Really? Publicly? You just want to have that on the record, or what? Nah.
there's ladies present.
Yeah. Do you have a question way back there?
Tom, ask Bob, after he saw the Bigfoot, what did he think? What was his grasp on reality as he knew it then?
After you saw the Bigfoot, how did that change your worldview or grasp of reality at that moment?
Well, I definitely knew they existed.
Anything else? Did you I mean, how did it affect like you and Roger to actually see one? Did you? I mean, that excitement. You guys seemed, rambunctious and shaping up to stay focused on what you were doing, what Roger wanted to do there to document it.
Well, yes, we did. You know, we're naturally very excited about it, and that's when I wanted to follow it, and Roger didn't. And down there in October 20th, your days are fairly short, you know, and the sun. This was in the afternoon, of course. So if we were going to get any film of the footprints or anything, have tried to do anything to verify the fact that it walked through the area where the film says it was, we had to go back down to the rig and get the material for casting, and it just took a while before we could get it all done. So we knew then that we were running short of time. We had to hurry up and get stuff going. And that's when Roger filmed the footprints, and then I got up on a stump there about 36 inches maybe, or somewhere like that. And I had a cowboy riding heel on. At that time I was about 25, 30 pounds heavier than I am at this time. And I'd jump off that stump and leave a heel print as deep into the soil as I possibly could, as close to the tracks as I could, to indicate the difference in the depth of the tracks.
All right, another question? Back there, yes.
Bob, do you think there was, besides Patty, do you think there was other Bigfoot around? Is that why he said cover him?
Yes, yes.
Do you think there was other big?
Yeah. Well, I didn't have time to think about that, but you know, this all happened so fast. It's almost unbelievable how fast that she covered ground away from us. And it was in an area where it was very possible that there could have been other Bigfoot, and there's been speculation on that ever since that time. And said, there's been people tell me yesterday, yes, there was other Bigfoot back in the trees there. So you know, I didn't think about it. I didn't. My thought was only, yes, these things really do exist, and I saw one, and it was big, hairy, and powerful looking.
Okay, another question. River?
How does he feel about the contrast
From that.
How do you feel about the progress Bigfoot research has made? I guess not only since the filming, but since you've been back involved with it.
Well, I got back involved with the Bigfoot in 2003 with a conference in Willow Creek, California that's put on by a gentleman by the name of Al Hodson. I don't know if any of you folks know who that is, but I'll just go back just a little bit. He owned a variety store down in Willow Creek, California. And when we came down out of the mountains that night for Roger to get the film sent up to his brother-in-law in Yakima, we stopped at the variety store there to get, Roger wanted to make a phone call because he had been acquainted with people in Canada that had track dogs. And those people up there in Canada told Roger that they would track anything that they put them on. And I mean when they put them on, that they got them to sniff or smell, and they'd track it. So Roger wanted to call and let the people up there know that he'd like to have the dogs brought down. And they did try to get down here, but there's another rainy story about that, and I won't go into that because that was awful. But anyway, that's since then, I try to answer his question, the Rivers there, about how I feel about how it's come, how much.
Well, Bigfoot research, you've been involved with going out on expeditions and with people who go out and do the things we see, and finding Bigfoot, for example, and have had your own experiences.
Oh, yes, I have.
So.
And River, I think, now we would have, shortly after that film footage, we wouldn't have had the interest that you folks are showing right here at this conference at all. It has come so far, and even since 2003. And this just makes me just so happy and so glad that people are involved and so seriously involved.
All right, I know, anyone have a question? Here, I know many do. You had your hand up earlier.
Didn't make a sound as far as I could tell at that time, you know.
Question was, did the creature make any sounds? Let's see, go ahead in the back.
Well, I know we've all read about your experience in 1967 and it's funny. It changed everybody's life. It's good work. Have you had any other encounters that you can compare on that same level of that day, that face-to-face encounter? Or was there a time there that passed where you didn't have anything else to do with it, or have you had it and just not written about it, that you could tell us about your own personal experience?
Well, yes, I have had some encounters, and there weren't really good, solid encounters, so I never talked much about it. But there was a time shortly after this film that I just kind of stayed away from the subject for quite a while for a lot of personal reasons that revolved around Roger and me and another fellow. So I never went back down there until 2003. And I've many times regretted that I didn't go back down there and just look, because when I walked down there in 2003, I thought that I could walk right down to the same place. It looked the same. And I could say, right there's where it walked. I got down there and it looked like I was in a foreign country. Couldn't recognize anything. The creek had rerouted. The trees had grown 30 to 40 feet where there was no trees when I was down there. And so I was just kind of in awe. And I really never got a good bearing on it until I went down with the first episode of Finding Bigfoot.
And to clarify the point, to ask why he hadn't written about any other possible encounters he may have had. Well, he went just back to life. Basically, after a few months of still associating with Roger Patterson and Al Diatley, they began to move towards capitalizing on the film, making a documentary, and left Bob out of that portion. And Bob really wasn't brought back being involved with it until Roger passed away, and here was the remaining witness from that event. So just so people know, and then they make a point that he brings up, well, why didn't he ever return there? Well, what was the point of it? He wasn't involved in it. The film really was never accepted or appreciated through those years as it should have been, because there was this constant attempt to, drag it down. And it really wasn't until 2003 that you had Bigfoot research at a point, and you brought everyone together for a symposium in Willow Creek, that he had that opportunity. So anyway, more question?
And that's why I'm so grateful for you folks here this evening.
Great, yes.
And
all right, yes.
yes. Well, at the time I first saw her, I had no idea what to expect. And all the evidence has been collected over the years since then, so 48 years, and talked to some of the natives and Native Americans and different people and the Russian scientists. In my opinion, they are people. Now, and people say, well, some people call them apes or whatever, but to me, from what I've learned, not personal experience, but from other people that I strongly believe what they're telling me, they are people.
I'm not going to qualify that for him, but I know as well Bob appreciates the involvement of anthropologists and like Jeff Meldrum, and the fact that we're talking possibly about a relict hominoid here as well. It all comes together. It means one and the same, people, hominoid. So anyway, sure, you back there. Yeah, you. What was it like to be there in that area, and how did you feel about it?
When I went back,
Well, back when he went back, or when he was there with the film? When you were there getting the film, what was it like being in that wild area?
well, yes, that was in the woods. It was a perfect place for me to be because I grew up in the woods, and I hunted and just about anything that you camped out a lot, even when I was Boy Scout, and all my life, even before I was ever a Boy Scout. I camped out just about as much as I possibly could get the time to do it. I grew up on a farm, and spare time was pretty scarce.
Yeah, Bob is very comfortable, of course, in the woods, and as I've had the pleasure and the honor to travel with him the last 8 years on just a few occasions, really, but it's amazing to hear him describe where we are, what's going on, and you know what a great observer he is just being out in the woods with him. But Sibylla, did you have a question? That answered it? All right, young man, I see you waiting patiently. Do you think you'll ever see Bigfoot again? All right, do you think you'll ever see Bigfoot again?
Well, I certainly hope so. I'm keeping looking, and I've got fairly good eyesight. Don't hear worth a hoot, but I got good eyesight.
All right, yes?
Did you change your opinion of the woods since you saw your Bigfoot? Were you a little more nervous going in the woods, or do you feel as comfortable as you did prior?
Did it change your opinion of the woods? Are you any more nervous now going in the woods because of your encounter?
Oh, definitely not. I love the woods, the creation that God has created for us, the trees. I like to ride to look over that next hill to see what's over there. And I'm not nervous about anything. If I see another Bigfoot, I'm going to try to communicate with it and get as close as I can. And I'm not a brave person, but I'm very curious, and I think that I can submit enough and make them believe that I'm not going to shoot at them or harm them of any way. And I would like everybody that's interested is to not run, scream, shoot at them. And I think we'll get a whole lot farther with them.
Okay. Yes. You. Do you think that the same creature that you filmed, who we all refer to as Patty, is still alive?
Well, I've been told that she is, but I really don't want to. I've been told that she is, but the fellow that told me that was a little bit different opinion than the folks that are here tonight. So
hard to say, and how would Bob know, right? It's something to wonder about, though, for all of us. Yes, Betty?
I would like to say I'm honored, and as I know we all are, to meet you, because you are history, live history, that we have learned about through most of our entire lives. I mean, very few of us were adults at that time when you met Patty. If you said, my question was what he asked, if you were going to communicate, how would you do it? What do you think you would do?
well,
Did
thank
everyone
you.
in the back, though, hear that? Betty was saying that he's living history, and if you were to see Patty again, yeah, let's hear it. Thank you. So sorry, I interrupted you, Betty, but go ahead. What's the last part of your question?
He said he would communicate, try to communicate. How?
How would he do that? How would you communicate, Bob?
Well, I'd have to just take that one step at a time, see how the other person received what I was doing, and I'd take my chances any way that I possibly could. And I would probably start being real submissive, and then try to be as friendly as I could, get the biggest smile on my face I could get, and just try to prove to them that I was not there to harm them any way, shape, or form. Because when I go into the woods, I don't even carry a pocket knife anymore. And I've kind of come by that by just thinking about what would be the best way to communicate with them. And I really don't know what would be the best way, whether to leave them gifts or food or what, and that's been tried a lot. And I've been out with lots of people that have left food for them, and it has disappeared, whether raccoons took it or birds or whatever. But we always hoped it was Bigfoot taking it.
All right. Yes.
I was just wondering, first of all, it's a privilege that you had the honor of seeing Patty, in my mind. And I'm
Yes.
sure you feel the same way.
I do.
Okay, I just said it's an honor and a privilege that you had the chance to see her. Have you had the honor and privilege of seeing any other Bigfoot with your eyes?
You know, I really don't know how to answer that, only I thought I did. Not sure. I know I've heard one very close to me. In fact, about from here to that wall, one night in the dark, and there was three of us there by the campfire. One of the guys was, well, both of them were great field researchers. They're into this thing up to their chin, you know. So anyway, one walked in the trees just about that distance from us, and we didn't think much about it. We just thought it's a place where quite a few people are up. It's a place called Bumping Lake in Washington, about 85 miles from where I live. So we didn't think too much about it until it got almost straight across from us, and it let out one of those blood-curdling yells. And so a lot of things happened in a few seconds there. The guy closest to it was, he was there with his German Shepherd dog, and he ran for his vehicle. The next guy was a great field researcher. He ran for his tent to get a recorder. And crazy old Bob, of course, I ran out in the road and let out my best little holler, you know. And the Bigfoot probably thought, boy, that's a puny thing.
All right. Back there?
Do you think you got so close to the Bigfoot just because you were on horses, Bob?
Do you think you got so close to the Bigfoot because you were on horses?
Well, yes, I do. There's no real way of knowing that. The creek was running, and we were coming up, and I don't know how much sound, but knowing what I know about these now, I would think that it probably was aware of us coming on the horses quite a while before we made that turn around the downfall tree in the creek. So apparently Roger saw her. I'll call it her now because I realize that everybody thought it is thinking it's a female, and they abandoned the name of Patty. And Roger stated to me that it was kneeled down when he first saw it, facing the creek, kneeled down. Well, now when I saw it, it was standing up by the creek. It turned immediately and started walking away. It never did break and run when we was in view of it. But it indicated with the footmarks or the gravels that it did run after it left our sight, up a little draw and out of our sight. There was a large log jam there, and just like Tom got through saying, you know, everything was in favor of the creature at that time.
All right, question over there? What would you tell someone who's starting out, like a young kid, boy or girl, who believes in Bigfoot, knows there are Bigfoot?
Well, I would advise you to go prepared with just about every piece of equipment that somebody had talked to you about or what you'd learned about, and be very, very observant of where you're at all times. Naturally, you don't get lost, but you know where you're at, and it would probably be better if you could go with an adult or at least somebody that was a little more familiar with doing field research. But for equipment, I'll tell you, Tom here is great to tell you about making casts and how to make them. And I think he said earlier, well, I know he said earlier, take some kind of something for a measurement, not your footprint, but something that's identifiable. You know, you probably wouldn't be carrying a 12-inch rule with you, but you might have a dollar bill, or you might have something that somebody else could identify and if you found a footprint in the dirt.
Right, and Bob's saying, and for everybody, there's quite a bit of good research going on these days, and the one thing lacking seems to be a good scale item in the photos. So, you know, take that time to, it takes that time to take it out, put it on the ground, keep it on the ground in the photo next to the possible evidence. Okay. Let me try going. Anybody who hasn't asked a question, go ahead.
Just two small questions. First one, a few days or even a couple hours before you actually got to see the Bigfoot, did you have a feeling that something might have been watching you? And was there like an odor or anything?
All right. Well, so prior to your encounter that day, as you were riding out to go camping that night, did you have any sense or any sense of a Bigfoot around or a smell?
Oh, well, it was daytime, not night. Anyway, no, we did not, because from the film site down to where we were camped was about 4 miles.
Yeah, you know, I think we've talked about this too. And the question used to be, you know, had you seen any footprints or had heard any screams, people would ask, or any other possible, you know, Bigfoot sign. And then I think you would always say that nothing had happened up to that point.
Nothing had happened. Nothing. It was really kind of quiet. No footprints, no nothing.
All right, sir, you?
What do you think caused her to look back at you?
What caused her to look back at you? Or what do you think caused her to?
What I think caused her to look back at me was when I got down off the horse and pulled my rifle out of the scabbard. I'm quite sure that's the reason she made to look back at me. But I never raised the rifle to my shoulder. I had no need to, because even if she would have turned around and came back at me, I would have thought a long time without making a shot at her, taking a shot. But that particular time, I was young enough that I hunted a lot. I was elk hunt, bear, cougar, and I was an expert shot, excellent shot. So I knew if something did happen, I could take care of whatever matter.
All right. You have to follow. I'll get you, Sonia, yeah. Oh, okay. Just, okay. Rivers asking, would there be anything that you would, have you ever had this thought of, would there be anything you would ever do different than you had done that day? Right?
Well, yes, there's a lot of things I would have done different if I would have known we was going to see one. We would have been a whole lot better prepared all the way around, you know. Roger would, if we had any idea that we was going to see one, we'd been down there for 3 weeks and hadn't seen anything. So if there was any evidence at all that we were going to see one, Roger wouldn't have been taking all the pictures of me going back with a pack horse and the beautiful colors of the leaves of the fall of the year and the beautiful sunshiny October day. It was just one of those really pleasant days. And so we would have made darn sure that we had everything ready to take care of what we had to take care of afterwards.
Yeah.
I was wondering, how do you feel about the people who are pro-kill?
Sonia asked, how do you feel about the people who are pro-kill?
Well, I feel they got some common sense.
What do you mean?
Well, I don't want anybody to kill one of them. There's going to be, in my opinion, enough evidence collected in the future or immediately or now or any time that there doesn't have to be a kill. I'm dead set against killing. I'm not offended by anything, but the thing is, we all live our own lives and we go down our own paths, you know. And so I just like I said, I don't know how many people here, if they see one or would like to see one or get close to it and try to be friendly to it. Now that's my opinion. I wouldn't shoot at one. I don't scream and holler at them. I'm not afraid of them. But I'm not stupid enough to walk right up to one too, because it could pick me up and throw me 50 feet before I hit the ground, you know. Roger rode bulls and bareback, and so did I. And then when I thought I was getting too old to do that, I quit. Because I had a family, and I had to go to work on Monday morning, and there was many times when I'd have just soon stayed home. I had bruises and hurting, and if you ever rode a bull, you know what I'm talking about, or even a bareback horse.
Great. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's been an extraordinary question and answer session. Mr. Bob Gimlin. If you could say
Thank you. I like to hear that. Thank you again. Thank all of you people. Boy, I tell you what, I hear those beautiful ladies' voices. My golly, I tell you, this is so special for Mark to invite me here to see all you special people. And when I say special people, each and every one of you are very, very special to me. My reward now, started in 2003, is you folks. I never made much money on it, but I'm the richest man in the country.